All right, so I get the question all the time, what do I need to do to start a business? And the answer is it's quite simple. You just need to go and sell something to somebody. It's really that simple. In fact, you don't even have to have the something that you sell to them. You just need to go sell something, take people's money, and you have created a transaction. You now have a business. How you figure out how to deliver on that product or service or whatever the thing is that you sold them, that's a different conversation for a different day. But at its root, you have a business the moment you start selling stuff to other people. And so selling is the prerequisite fundamental baseline skill that you have to have as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you want to be able to grow and scale it. And this is never going to go away. You're never going to not need to sell. The ways that you sell will grow and evolve, whether you're selling one-on-one to customers, you're selling through your marketing copy, you're selling to your employees, trying to get them bought into the vision and the dream that you have for the business, trying to sell partners to come and work with you, right? Selling vendors to want to work alongside you as well. So like selling through and through is the fundamental skill you got to master as an entrepreneur. Now, most people I find struggle with sales if they don't come from strictly a sales background. If you're more of the product person, more of the financial person, and you have some, domain experience. Let's say you're an accountant, you're a great bookkeeper, and you have this skill that you want to go sell to people, but you don't really know how to sell. Well, I'm going to help you today I'm going to share what I believe is the number one reason why people fail to close on the sales call if you're doing that, or in a sale by chat communication. And it's because you are getting these objections, which is, I don't have the time, this is too expensive, or I need time to think about it, I need time to talk to my partner or my wife and get them on board, right? If you've ever gotten into a sales call and you've gotten to the end of the conversation and you're like, so what do you think? Should we work together? And they give you one of these objections, then you have done you have violated the fundamental rule as a professional salesperson, which is that we never let people object to the sales. We first overcome the obstacles. And so the way to think about this is that we either have obstacles or objectives. If you proactively address each one of the things that you know a person will use at the end of a sales call as an objection, a reason, a smokescreen to say, this is why I can't move forward right now, then the obstacle is the way that we preempt that. Okay. Now, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so anytime that we can put in at the front end of the call, the front end of this conversation with people to identify what are the obstacles that they're likely to throw up later, the better. And so the way this manifests, let's say you get to the end of the sales call and the person says, well, this all sounds really great, but I just don't have the time right now. This is exactly what I need. Maybe you're selling a coaching package, right? And they're like, I just don't have the time to commit to this, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's an objection. And now you need to handle that if you want to be able to move them forward. But it's much easier if at the beginning of the conversation, you qualify them and you ask this question, is this a now or a later thing? How much time do you have to commit? If we decide, if we get to the end of this today and it sounds like this is a great fit and that this is a product that can serve you, how much time do you have to commit to it? And you get them to buy in at the beginning and tell you, well, I could probably, do an hour a week on this. Perfect. In fact, you're only going to need 15 minutes a day. So an hour is actually overkill. Now, when you get to the end, they can't say, oh, I just don't have the time for this. You go, hey, at the beginning, you said you could commit to an hour. So what happened? What changed? Often people will use objections to delay a decision. And it's not the root cause of the reason why they don't want to do the thing, right? A lot of times it's they don't feel confident that either they can do the work to get the result, that the product itself is going to work to get the result, or that you are not just lying and deceiving them. It's one of those three things usually. But people are nice and they'll throw up these other reasons as excuses for not wanting to move forward, right? And what we're trying to do in the beginning of the conversation is we are overcoming the obstacles so that at the end, the objections they raise are the true objections, the true underlying issues. So if I'm sitting here, I'm like, I just don't have the time to commit to this right now. I can say, listen, at the beginning, you said you could commit an hour to this. Now it sounds like maybe you have some doubts about your ability to follow through and do this. Maybe you've had a bad experience in the past with another program, another coach, where you committed to it. It sounded great on paper, but then you got into it and you didn't see the results. And now you're afraid that's going to happen again. Does any of that resonate? Right? So now we can start to unpack the actual obstacles that the people have. The second one would be, this is too expensive. If you ever get to the end of a sales call and you pitch it and they're like, ooh, that's too expensive, I can't afford that. Well, you get ahead of that by treating it as an obstacle at the beginning. and you just bring it up. Hey, have you invested in something like this? This is not an insignificant program, right? Like, we'll unpack it and everything, but this is a big commitment because we get big results. Have you invested in something like this before? So we're trying to get them to show, yeah, actually I have done this. Cool. And are you ready like to commit to this? Like, do you actually have access to the funds to move forward if this is a thing? Because we don't want to spend time pitching people who are fundamentally not qualified. And so if they tell us at the beginning, you know what, actually I am in a bad cash position right now, I couldn't afford this probably for another 6 to 9 months. You're like, perfect. I totally get that. How about this? Let's put a date on the calendar. We'll put a meeting on the books right now for 6 months. We'll follow back up. We'll have this conversation then when you're in a better financial position, because I work with action takers, right? I want to be able to move with momentum, because momentum, the most important force in business. If you want to be successful, we have to attack it with speed and with intention. And it's not going to do us any good right now to spin our wheels collecting information that you can't actually apply for another 6 to 9 months. So let's just put a pin in this. We'll circle back when you're ready. Right now, I've just saved myself a 45-minute sales call. Huzzah. So if you ever get somebody saying this is too expensive, it's because you didn't pre-qualify it at the front end. You didn't treat it as an obstacle, and now it's coming as an objection. The last one is I need to go talk to my partner. I need to talk to my wife. I need to run this past, my business partner, whatever, right? If you ever get that objection, it's because you didn't treat it as an obstacle at the beginning. And the very first thing you want to say is, hey, Anuj, I appreciate you hopping on the call, man. So like, is this everybody that needs to be here to make a decision? Like, if we get to the end of this and it's like the perfect fit, like, are you ready and able to make that decision on your own right now? Or is there somebody else that we should bring into the call? Do you have a partner, your wife maybe, that needs to be in here as well? And if they tell you, yeah, actually, my partner, I run everything by them, you're like, awesome. I think that's really cool. It's a great relationship. Let's get another meeting on the books where the three of us can sit down, right? Because we do not want to have a delay between when we get to the end of the sales call and when we get them to take action. Because the goal of the sales call is to help somebody make a decision. That's your only goal. It's not to get them to buy the product. That's actually the wrong way to look at it. You want to help somebody make a decision that's in their best interest to help them solve a problem they have. And it might be that your product and service is not the right way to solve it. And so you can help them make the decision and rule it out as quickly as possible. But if it is a product that can help them and you genuinely stand behind that it can make their life better, then your moral obligation is to help them make the decision that's in their best interest. And so we don't want people using these objections as smokescreens that are just enabling them to delay the decision, because one way or the other, they're going to make a decision, right? Inaction is a form of decision. That's not going to solve the problem. Inaction does not solve problems. Now, 6 months goes by, 6 years go by, and they've been living with that same problem because they haven't made the decision, because you didn't have the skills to help them see that this was in their best interest. Then 6 years go by and they're in the same exact place that they are right now, except they're 6 years older and they've been living 6 years longer with the problem. Right? So help them make that decision in the moment. And you do that by treating your sales calls like a professional and overcoming the obstacles early and presenting them rather than waiting for them to crop up at the end as an objection. You do that, you will close more sales, you will help more people. And that, more than anything, is what I want for you and I want for them. So go forth and crush. I will see you guys in the next episode.